It's time for more Dominions. In the previous part we were pushing the purple faction off their peninsula and finally finding success. I also found some global enchantment system mischief to get up to. We not only kicked everybody out of the sea, but we're able to look now at the scores and discover that things aren't going so bad. It's basically me and Red on top of the rest of the other factions. And we're going to skip a couple of turns ahead now where we're still just pushing along this purple area, trying to kick them out of the game entirely as their faction crumbles. But I actually wanted to talk about something perhaps more important and more damning to my campaign. As we're preparing to take the Throne of Ascension, I started thinking about who was going to go over there and actually claim it. As before, we have two options, our god or our prophet. Well, our god isn't much help to us, it's a jellyfish that can't leave the ocean. And that's why I'm finally starting to poke around in the item system there. I thought maybe there's an item I can equip that will allow the jellyfish to go out and do the claim. Of course, I could do what I did last time, that is to send the prophet. However, the old prophet died at some point, probably to some unseen assassination. And the new prophet, for some reason, I assigned to the Sea Slug character who was defending Monster Depth so well. And that Sea Slug also can't leave the sea. So what I've done is I've literally made it impossible for me to win. That was a really good move. We can't claim any thrones that are on the land unless we do some sort of shenanigans, and that's why I'm checking all of these potential items I can build at last. I'm sure all of these things are quite useful and I should be making them all the time. I just don't have the headspace to even think about it, and things are going well enough that I don't feel forced to engage with another mechanic. That's just kind of how it's rolling right now. So I'm aware that these things are probably useful and all of my commanders should be wearing these items to make them a bit better. I'm just not doing it. It's a bit faster to not do it as well, which is quite useful. Anyway, I ultimately discovered that there are some items you can make that give you the ability to breathe on land if you're a water unit. However, not all types of character can equip all types of item. There's another layer to this system. And it turns out that the various land-breathing things I actually could make can't be equipped by my god or the Sea Slug. This leaves me with one other option, which is to get the Sea Slug killed to try and generate a new prophet instead, which I decided to not do because I liked the Sea Slug. So what you'll see here is we're going to go after that Throne of Ascension, but we're not going to take it. We're just going to have that in the bank for a theoretical future time when I could take it if I did some more stuff that I either don't want to do or can't be bothered to do at the moment. This will present a downside because you get some bonus stuff and dominion spread for having the throne officially claimed. Well, that just becomes another challenge factor on top of the no knowledge challenge run. We're also now doing the no claiming Thrones of Ascension challenge run. Difficult for a game where the objective is to claim the Thrones of Ascension, but I'm still optimistic. Another thing to note is that we just skipped over about an hour of gameplay in the last couple of minutes. I've got 9 more hours of this recorded as of saying these words, and there's probably going to be even more than that. I actually got pretty into actually playing the game once I felt like I knew what I was doing and had some hope to progress. So I've now got extensive knowledge of what's going to happen, and I need to find a way to abridge this in such a way that it's not a massive blow by blow, because what we have is essentially 9 hours of very slow fighting against everybody on the map. So I'll try and cover just some important gists of what's going on. One thing that's going on is we're pushing against Red in the west and hoping their big army standing just there doesn't intervene, the classic strategy, which, as we've seen, works extremely well. If you just try not to fight them, you don't have to, and we'll see that being a running theme in the coming footage. And as mentioned before, we're going to close out the war with Purple. They're actually also being invaded by Yellow on the other side. Yellow have taken a few of their old territories. So Purple are basically going downtown, wanted to put the nail in their coffin as a symbolic end to the great struggle of the main body of this campaign. If you're wondering what happened to Orange, well, they're just gone, and we're currently stealing some leftovers from their territory along with Red. I think Red's Dominion completely overwhelmed them, so the Orange God died, and that was the end of them. So we'll be forming some more border up against Red over there. We've also got this incredibly cheeky move going on. I was trying to take this triangle on the right hand side of those mountains, Turns out the mountains are passable at one point, so I can actually move through to the other side, and I've taken this castle, and I thought I'll just keep going up to the edge there. That province I'm attacking now is Red's capital, so we've got some real over-the-Alps strats going on. We've just suddenly showed up at their capital with an army, and there we are securing the region. It's going to have a hefty castle there as well, of course, but that's just incredibly cheeky and was unexpected as well. I hadn't actually looked to see what was back there. I thought I'll just take this random province, and then it turned out it was their capital, so that's all very good. We've also captured a castle from Red over there on the western front somewhere. We'll be getting a couple more soon as well. And now it's time for Operation Runaway. Once again, their big stack is standing there ominously. We're just going to not be on the front line. To me, it doesn't matter if you take territory and then immediately lose it to the enemy by refusing to engage. That's better than actually engaging when we're always going to be fighting at a disadvantage. So we're gambling that the enemy will simply go in a different direction and that we'll be able to keep what we claimed. And that is indeed what happens. Here in the next turn, they're just gone, so they've gone off to the right or upwards somewhere. That's probably because we're besieging their capital. That's got the AI's attention, and they're going to send some units up there. I'm doing another project down here in the bottom right, where it's finally time to take another throne of ascension, but not really. It's time to take the province that it's in, I should say, by going after this random independent stack that's been here the whole time. The stack kept changing in size for some reason. Here was a particularly small stack, so a good time to attack, I suppose. And in we go with a bunch of stuff. I had been building up an army here, ready to reinitiate hostilities with Yellow and start another project down there, but doing this first seems like a good idea. And we do win. While there's a lot of troops here, it's mostly just trash. We've got quite a bit of trash ourselves as well, but also loads of those mage squids. And they make the difference. That's that. And here we are back up at the other side of the map, attacking Red's capital. I made this attack thinking it probably wouldn't work. It would be another purple capital situation where there's just tons of stuff and we'll get wiped out. That was not the case. They didn't have very much at all. A few guys came out of the breach to fight in the open and die. That was nice of them. And then we're in, just a few of these statues guarding the back and a very small number of ranged units on the walls. So with that, an incredibly cheeky move has been pulled off. We actually control Red's capital, making loads of money off it now as well and denying it to the enemy. A massive propaganda victory mostly. So we start to see forces now massing over here on this border. We've attracted their attention, it seems, and that's going to continue. I'm going to leave some of my troops in Red's castle, but I didn't have massive hopes for actually guarding this location. I was still more interested in ultimately just guarding my mountain line on the right. I'm just sort of seeing what I can get away with up there on the other side. Down against Purple, they're almost dead. Yellow actually have them under siege in this lake, a nice aquatic location for us to attack, and with that in mind, we're just going to start attacking Yellow to take advantage of this. There was actually previously a large purple army there that Yellow must have defeated, so we can then sweep in and defeat Yellow and do the siege ourselves. Obviously this means Yellow are up to no good with their magic once again, because there are elephants under the sea. That's supposed to not be allowed after our dispelling of the global enchantment. But there's all sorts of other things that also allow you to take units into the sea. Many of them in that items menu I was checking out earlier. While the battle is one-sided, we just paralysed their elephants and then took them down. So now we'll be sieging out Purple, and we also stormed a Purple castle this turn to the south. Purple are very nearly dead. Looks like Agartha are starting to attack us again with more pointless stuff, and then this happened again. They keep appearing with dragons and master enchanters back over there at their capital, Purple that is. And now they keep failing as well. Another god kill for us. Purple are in enormous trouble. They're not getting out of this one. We've also started advancing on our western coast against Red now that they're distracted, but we'll talk about that another time. In the next turn, Yellow came back at us in this same sea with a massive counter-attack army. My army now has the Sea Slug in it, you might note. That's because while poking around trying to see if I could get the Sea Slug to somehow teleport to the Thrones of Ascension, I indeed realised you can teleport to other sea tiles at the very least. The game actually allows you to teleport to land, but as I understand it via the internet, you just die if you teleport aquatic units onto the land, so we're not going to do that. But teleporting to the front line at least probably helped in this battle with extra magic. It actually didn't look like it was going that well, but the enemy mass routes, tons of stuff leaves the field, and with that, the siege will continue. Yellow's momentum has been rebuffed We are of course going to have to be at war with yellow on this front from now on, and attacking them there probably provokes them as well, so the war will just carry on pretty much the same as before. But purple are nearly gone, and that's what I'm going for. Red, well, they're responding very heavily to this attack on their capital. There are 500 units besieging it and another 750 standing nearby, so not very much we can do about that. But we do know now that tons of their army is up here. That means it's not elsewhere, and that's to our advantage. Here's the battle at their capital. They absolutely annihilate us with a wide variety of things. We've got flying things, ghosts, regular troops, scorpions, fat guys with brooms. They're just coming at us with everything, and they do succeed. And there probably wasn't too much we could do about that, but yes, the distraction is of potential use. There we are capturing Purple's last castle. It was a very easy one-sided attack. And there's the confirmation. Purple have been defeated. Our massive war is finally over. The war, more broadly speaking, will be almost unaffected by that because all we've done is win some more hostile front line to be constantly contesting. But yes, the propaganda victory is there, and we just move on immediately to our war with yellow. Here we are attacking one of their castles on the western coast. This is one of the castles I've been trying to get for a lot of the campaign by just constantly making cheeky attacks. But now it's an attack that's just slightly cheekier than ones before, more mages maybe to help out. And as we already know, if you were looking at the results that came up earlier, we did eventually win that grind. Essentially, here's one other thing we did. I've taken Marignon's capital off of red, another valuable province to control, and another propaganda victory. We now control a fair few capitals. We have ours, pinks, purples, oranges, and perhaps we can lie to our people and still claim we have reds, which if we did have all of them would be the capitals of more factions than are still alive now, maybe? There's some big marketing angle we can make here to make things seem very good for us. They still have this massive stack red down towards the south, so while we did draw stuff up top, there's still a danger, but I've also been able to advance against red on the western coast. This was the point when green started to become a threat as well. They've actually amassed a big army. They haven't been doing anything for a very long time. They've been at war with red, I think, on a front that we couldn't see. But that front's coming into view and joining with our front, so green will be on the table once again for us. We're making some progress in the old orange territory against red here, and they have nothing to stop us, or those independent troops by the looks of things that are rebelling or something. Most of the red forces are either at the top or actually at the bottom. There's another stack down there that we need to get out of the way of. We're going to just fall back as I advanced here, taking yellow territory. Continuing the vaguely successful plan, just try not to bother the AI, and they might think of doing something else, and if they keep thinking that and going backwards and forwards across the land, that's fine by me. And on the topic of doing the same thing over and over again, here we are back at it again, at Red's capital, because after they retook it, they left and most of my stuff survived after fleeing, so we can just go in and try to do it again and see how they react to this. We're also taking some red castles near the middle of the map against our new border with green, where green is also pushing red with a massive army, hoping we can kind of work together on this project and not fight each other too much. Need to actually pull some troops out of that siege because we don't have the supplies to keep it going with our full army. There's another front where red are sitting on our border. We're just going to let them sit there. They can attack if they want. They're wasting turns with those big armies by not achieving anything significant with them. We've now regrouped on the yellow front after spending a couple of turns sitting around just building up new troops and bringing in troops from the east. Now it's time to start a serious push and take some castles and regions. We can do that right now because yellow don't have that much on this front line. Where are they? Well, they're actually mostly in the west. We'll see them in a second. We're now in the next turn as I begin my assault on Red's capital once again. Nothing nearby to stop me, and there's probably nothing inside since we just took it down. So we're virtually guaranteed to take it again and just humiliate the enemy some more. And all of their stacks aren't doing anything. They're still just moving around. There is a big stack from yellow. They've got quite a lot of stuff in their northwest. Not such a bad location. They could push out from here into the sea using some of their magic, or just push us off the coast. My response to this initially was to run away, but I eventually switched up and said, you know what, I'm going to contest this front. I'm going to send everything I happen to have standing around here to just go in and try to fight them in a gigantic battle. We're also still reaping the rewards of Red's distractions in the middle of the map. as our push from our eastern coast is carrying on surprisingly well. We're just not being stopped. These armies aren't even that good. They totally could bring us down if they sent a stack to stop us. But they didn't. The story of Red's strategy in this campaign. Moving into the next turn, there's the battle I sought, but didn't get with Yellow. Everything mustered together. Ends up just fighting a tiny army, which I decided to look at for some reason. Their main force obviously just went back, so that's another AI that likes to just go off the front line with their stacks. Perhaps they are just afraid of us. They didn't want to risk fighting the battle I was going for. There was a more substantial battle down on the front line, where I was surprised here at how well it went. The enemy lost like 90 troops and I lost about 2. So I came down to look at it, just to find out why are we defeating them so roundly. We do need to gather that sort of intel against Yellow, being a broadly new opponent. Haven't really paid attention to what they have. They do appear to have lots of trash, some of the light infantry I've seen in my own provincial armies, so that is a good sign for sure. We're also now going to reverse my earlier confidence about a big battle with Yellow on this frontier, because I'm running away. They could come back and try to recontest this castle. I'm not going to be there if they do, so clearly something changed in my mind and I didn't want to fight that decisive battle anymore. Maybe just the doctrine of avoiding decisive battles entirely is ramping up. But we're actually going to make a stand at Red's capital, because while again some stuff has shown up to presumably take it back, I've got quite a lot of stuff in the castle, so I'm leaving everything on defend mode. I'm going to try and get the enemy to attack that castle, and then maybe cut them down in the choke point with our billions of paralyzing magics and meteorite guard. Moving on once again, there we are losing the outskirts of the capital region, so they are coming in for the siege. We've got hundreds of units on the inside. We'll just have to see how they can do in the future. We've also made some progress against Yellow, pushing that front line down at the bottom left of the sea. Difficult to use my directional theatre names anymore because the land is now kind of the centre of attention rather than the sea. Well, things are broadly looking good. We're taking more former Orange territory. We've made a few advances against Yellow down here, but we're mainly not pushing here. That's really just a distraction. Yellow has disappeared from the great battlefront I was going for, so we really can pile everything back in and try to funnel through to take more Yellow territory, or again provide a distraction and make their army go back, while the main force continues to operate against their fortified areas and a throne of ascension in the bottom left of the sea theatre. The red forces are in this massive column, clearly coming to attack the capital. That's kind of okay. We've got loads of stuff inside, so my hopes are high. And all of that stuff going up there means it's not elsewhere, and there are plenty of attacks against Red we can make while they're doing this campaign. We'll leave things here, since this happens to be where one of my clips ends. We've got through about 3 to 4 hours of footage in this episode. Good abridging. Well, there's clearly going to be a couple more since we have so many hours to get through after this, and I intend to make more just to make matters worse for myself. But yes, we'll abridge real fast and just have the general gist of what happens, trying to focus in on the most decisive and interesting moments, which of course will not include us actually getting any Thrones of Ascension, unless they do decide to go for that sacrifice next time I play. I'll think about it. Well, see you next time.